The 2024 NFL schedule is out, which means the Bengals schedule is out. The complete schedule plus my instant reaction and takeaways about the 2024 slate. Hi again, everyone, and welcome into Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of BengalsTalk.com. And if you're looking for extra analysis, instant reactions, well, you've come to the right place with the Bengals schedule out for the 2024 campaign. Yes, we already knew that they play the Chiefs week 2, but now we know all 17 games. And well, let's dive into it. What I'm going to do in this video, pretty simple. Hit that subscribe button, by the way. Make sure you ring the bell when you hit subscribe. Well, you join 44,000 plus Bengals fans that watch us. So certainly join the CBT movement and check out Enter the Jungle every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern right here on CBT and weekly on Bally Sports. All right, plugs out of the way. Let's get to the schedule. I'm going to go through the schedule game by game real quick, just telling you what the schedule is, and then I'll give you some of my takeaways. Week 1 at home, which you love season openers at home. On September 8th, the Bengals will play the New England Patriots. Drake May comes to town. Maybe it'll be Jacoby Brissett. Interesting week 1 matchup with the first game, the first non-Bill Belichick New England Patriots game in more than 2 decades. Then they go to Kansas City. As we mentioned, 425, that's essentially a primetime game for CBS. It's their main slot. And so September 15th, it's Kansas City. And then it is real prime time. Monday Night Football comes to Paycor Stadium, where the Washington Commanders come to town. Jaden Daniels. So over the first 3 weeks of the season, the Bengals play 2 rookie quarterbacks. That is a Monday night game, obviously on ESPN. So that's a really exciting time. And then the Bengals hit the road at Carolina. And so just real quick with those 4 games, you have 3 young quarterbacks that you're facing, 3 players that were either the first, second, or third overall pick that you could be facing, depending on if Drake May is starting for the Patriots. But overall, you want to talk about quick starts? Well, it looks like it's lining up for the Bengals to do just that if they are who we think they are. Then they come home week 5 for a matchup against Baltimore and then hit the road again Sunday Night Football, this time in New York against the Giants. It's a fun one. MetLife Stadium. And then, well, they stay on the road at Cleveland, their first matchup against the Cleveland Browns on October 20th, followed by October 27th. They come home and they play Jalen Hurts in the Philadelphia Eagles. That followed up with a November 3rd date against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then they hit the road 4 days later in Baltimore. A November game in Baltimore, Thursday Night Football. Tough. And so we will see there where they're at, but they get the Baltimore games out of the way in the first 10 weeks of the season. Then they go to the West Coast, their longest trip of the season, their road trip to the Los Angeles Chargers, where they'll play the Chargers on November 17th. And then they go into a bye week. It's nice having a bye there. So November 17th is their last game of November. And then they welcome the Pittsburgh Steelers to town on December 1st. And then it's back to Monday Night Lights. That's right, 2 Monday night games as the Bengals play the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football in Dallas at Jerry World. That's a huge game, December 9th. And then, well, they go to a familiar face or a familiar place, and they will see a familiar face, a couple of them. And Brian Callahan, Tyler Boyd, as the Tennessee Titans are next up in week 15. And then 4 days later, their second Thursday night football game, which I think is really interesting. The Cleveland Browns, December 19th. It's at home, which I think is huge. It feels like every single primetime game against the Browns has been on the road. I'm thinking about Halloween night a few years ago, the Chidobe Awuzie got injured game. I'm thinking about, Joe Burrow's second career start was on Thursday Night Football in Cleveland. Well, now Myles Garrett and company, they have to come to Cincinnati for prime time under the lights. Week 17, Denver at home, and then they hit the road week 18 to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. So instant reaction here. You want a quick start. The Bengals realistically should start quick. New England at home, winnable game. Obviously, at Kansas City is always tough. Washington at home, winnable game. At Carolina, winnable game. And I'm not playing the schedule game yet, but those are all realistic. I mean, you could start 4-0 if you handle business against the Chiefs. And then you have the Ravens at home. So it's a tough game, but it's at home and then at New York. So those first 6 weeks, could you be 5-1 going into that first Cleveland matchup? Maybe. And so that was my first takeaway when I saw this schedule. Second takeaway, they don't have a ton of long road trips where they're on the road, then they have a bye, then they're on the road. It's a nice balance where it's home, road, home, road, home, road, road, home, road, bye, home, road, home, road. That works pretty well. I know some fans wanted Munich, Germany. We found out this morning that that wasn't going to happen. I'm fine with that personally. The other thing I'm fine with, no Christmas Day game. The Bengals aren't playing in that Wednesday game, which I got to be honest, I was not hoping for. I was rooting against it. Even if it was at home, I would not want that personally. And maybe that's selfish of me. I don't care, quite frankly. I did not want that. And so that didn't happen. So that is a huge, huge win. No thanks to Thanksgiving Day game. I thought there was a chance at least with Dallas and that Dallas matchup. And they do play Dallas. It's just on Monday Night Football. So plenty of people will be watching that game. And that's interesting because Mike McCarthy could be on the hot seat by then. And that could be a really, really interesting matchup if that does happen. Two Thursday night games, really interesting. One on the road against Baltimore, one against Cleveland at home, both in the division. And then the other thing, 5 primetime games. So I know when the Kansas City game came out, it was, oh man, the Bengals, the NFL schedule makers are worried because of the Joe Burrow injury history. Well, they have primetime games just throughout their schedule. 3 of them in the first 6 weeks, yes, but then they have one in week 10, one in week 14, one in week 16, all under the primetime lights. And so, or 2 within the first 6 weeks, excuse me. They also have one preseason is going to be on Thursday Night Football as well, but it's preseason against the Colts. It's all right. So overall, 5 primetime games, that certainly stands out. But I think that this is the schedule that you're looking for to get off to the quick start. I mean, the toughest stretch that stands out, the at Cleveland week 7, Philly at home. Then you have the Raiders, which is obviously a winnable game at home, but then at Ravens, at Chargers. That's a really tough 5 weeks overall, but that's the toughest stretch, I would say. And then Pittsburgh at home. And I guess you could argue that that December stretch could be because it's Pittsburgh at home. Maybe Pittsburgh's good. We know they're going to be competitive and physical and all the Steelers things. Maybe Dallas is good and McCarthy isn't on the hot seat and you're going on the road to one of the NFC's best teams. Tennessee, maybe Will Levis takes a step forward. All those roster moves they made. Brian Callahan has some success in year 1 on the road. And then you got the Browns on a short week. So that's the other stretch that stands out is like really tough. But it's not like it's Chiefs, Bills, division game, another AFC contender. Like we've seen that in recent years. That's the benefit. You're seeing the benefit of the last place schedule here, where I'm looking and I'm like, yeah, well, that's winnable. That's winnable. That's winnable. All right. Well, that's a tough game against the Eagles, but that's winnable. A division opponent, you know them. Like they're always competitive. You have a shot in any of them. I like this schedule for that. No really long trips. Like I said, they dodge the international game, which I think is huge. And it's a nice breakup of home road splits. I like, honestly, that the bye is a little later in the season. I know in past years, last year, it was a little earlier. And then this past, 2 years ago, and heck, I think even 3 years ago, it was like smack dab in the middle of the season. That's fine. It's a little longer stretch. You got to get through the dog days of October and into November, but you get that bye, that Thanksgiving bye, so to speak. Sign me up for that because you go on the road, you go on your longest road trip following Thursday Night Football. So that's the nice thing is they have Thursday Night Football November 7th. They get the mini bye. They come back longest road trip to Los Angeles, and then they have their actual bye. That helps a lot. That's probably why the NFL felt comfortable giving them 2 Thursday night games. But overall, I like the schedule. We will play the schedule game coming up in another video. So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. What do you think about the Bengals 2024 schedule? What's your instant reaction, your instant takeaways? Let me know in the comments. And if you're looking for more on this schedule release, check out bengalstalk.com. For Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. As always, thank you so much for watching and happy schedule release. This is Cincinnati Bengals Talk.